Doug, our guest tonight is a really interesting fellow, elementary or middle school teacher, metal shop artist, avid biker, and has stories from growing up on the farm.
In Iowa.
I mean, is that even a country? And
no, it's a state.
It's a state. So we are very fortunate to have Richard Lorenzen here tonight, and I'm really looking forward to the discussion.
Me too. Welcome to the third chair. Peter is back here.
Yo!
And luckily we have a guest, Richard. And Richard, can you say your last name so I don't screw it up?
Lorenzen.
Lorenzen. I bet a lot of people say Lorenzo. Like
I get Lorenzo all the time.
Yeah, there's like cops on TV cop shows that have Lorenzos and
funny.
Yeah.
So, you're an artist. You do metal design.
Yes.
And then paintings. You told us you have paintings hanging up some places in town at times. Do you have any right now?
Yeah. So right now I have art at Steel Pan PNP, which is downtown Colorado Springs. I want to say it's like 400 South Nevada, something like that.
Oh, okay.
That place serves food.
They do. They have great pizza.
That's where I knew the name. It was driving me crazy in pre-production.
Yep.
It was like I've heard that. Yeah, I had a pizza there.
Yep, they have great pizza.
Yeah.
Yep.
You had a pizza and stared at the art, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
No, the place is full of art, and that's the cool thing about it is I just happened in there and I saw the art, and I asked the guy about the art. He's like, "Well, bring your art. We'll hang it up too." And so that's where it is.
That's great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
We'll show some pictures of some of his artwork. I have some that
great
that will flash up.
Probably
the
in
screen.
segment 4 of this show.
Probably segment 4.
Perfect.
Or segment 3 or 2, but not 1.
Not now.
Maybe now.
Traditionally, we do segment 4.
Yeah, actually, it won't be now because they're upstairs on the kitchen table.
You were just trying to go get some more chicken.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we had chicken to eat for dinner. Hopefully, not too much is on me right now. So let's talk about the metal design that you do. Mm-hmm. What's the biggest challenge of being a metal artist?
Well, I'll tell you what I thought would be the biggest challenge of it when I started this was just transforming ideas into reality. And I found that kind of comes natural to me just by doing it. And then what has become the biggest challenge of it is painting things.
Oh. Are you a good painter normally, or is it harder to paint on the metal?
Well, it's the finish work on the metal. So I've been using spray paint. That's been my media if people want a finish that's not just bare metal, then I've been using spray paint, which is okay, but I don't have a controlled place to paint. So I found that spray paint is very particular with temperature, and if your room's not very clean, dust and dirt, lots of little things can go really bad with spray paint.
So you're there vacuuming and dusting.
Oh yeah, just trying to make a clean space, and I do a lot of that in my garage, and so in the wintertime, sometimes it's 40, 30 degrees in there, and that has a huge impact on whether that paint sticks or not. So I've had a lot of frustration with paint, and that has been the hardest part of the work I've been doing, to the point where I naturally like the natural finish anyway. And so I always try to encourage that first. It's like, look at how great this looks, this shiny metal.
Do you polish it?
Yes.
I know you gotta sand off the edges and stuff, but is there a polishing, to get everything smooth? And
Yes, yeah. I really love to use, they call it a flapper disc, which is basically, it's a round wheel that goes on a disc angle grinder, and it's layers of sandpaper.
Oh.
And it does an amazing job because it cleans it well, but it also leaves really cool texture. So depending on how you hold it and position it. So I actually have found that that's a really unique way to create a finish on a product. And a lot of people don't think about it, and then they see it, they're like, oh, that's really cool. Mm-hmm. So far my scheme's working.
And let's not tell anybody.
Right, yeah.
So when they want, so do you have customers ask for, and I mean, you to do projects for them, and
Yes.
so you do requests.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That's been my bread and butter. Is I started this because my wife she runs an online school, and she wanted some icons, some logos for her. She teaches by the semester. But she has students in the Southern Hemisphere, in Australia and other places, so she couldn't say spring semester or summer semester or fall semester because it's all flip-flopped. And so she said, I need something, and she's into fairy tales and myth. And so the first thing we did was a bee, a raven, a whale, and a rabbit. So she had the semester of the whale, semester of the rabbit. I think actually semester of the whale is just coming up again.
Oh, wow.
And so she wanted some art.
So why do you know why those 4 animals, or?
No, I don't know exactly. Actually, I don't remember exactly why we decided on those. That's a good question, actually. Yeah,
because those are interesting animals.
Yeah.
Well,
I was changing Chinese New Year,
right?
Chinese year, but they don't have a whale on there.
Yeah, no, I would guess it ties to some fairy tale or some kind of folklore.
Well, but in reality, Australia has more things that can eat you, envenomate you.
Right.
I mean, where's the venomous snake charm? Where's the crocodile charm? Or the box jellyfish? or the all those spiders?
Yeah, we need those too. But anyway, so I drew them. We found some stuff we really liked, and so the same thing. She's like, I really like that. Can you do something like this? And so I drew them, and then at some point, I think it was her that said, you could make some really cool art out of metal. And so those were the first pieces. We made replicas of those drawings in steel. And then about that same time, she had a friend who publishes in Australia have a book released. And it had this really cool, it was almost like Celtic, I guess, with really cool swirls, and it had a mermaid tail on it.
Oh, nice.
And so she had helped my wife out, Carrie, quite a bit, and so she wanted to send her something. So I made some original art based on that cover and cut it out, and we sent her a sign in a pizza box to Australia.
Nice.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I assume the pizza wasn't in there.
No, we ate the pizza.
When you said whale, the first thing I thought of was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, whoop, plop.
I think of Star Trek 4, where they had to go back in time to get the humpback whales.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So they can communicate.
Yeah.
So if you had an extra $50,000 for your metal work, what would you invest it in?
So what I use the most is called a CNC plasma cutting machine. So what I do is everything I do starts on paper and pencil. I'm still old school. And then I scan that and digitize it. And then I have to take it into a program that I actually have to physically click and draw. I trace it into this program that then drives this plasma cutter. And so the machine communicates with the cutter, and then it cuts out whatever I drew.
So is it kind of like a laser, or
it's
is plasma different?
Yeah,
It sounds like the difference between a Star Trek and a Romulan weapon.
Right.
Yeah.
So plasma is energized electrical current. So it uses compressed air and electricity, and it basically vaporizes the metal.
Wow.
So it takes about an eighth of an inch cut, and it just follows a line, whatever you draw, in the order you draw it.
Have you ever thought of doing what is now the 3D art now?
Yeah.
But those machines probably maybe more than 50,000.
They might be, yeah. But that would be my investment, is in one of those machines. Yeah. That's a really cool machine, but hard to find. I go to a place called Kilroy's Workshop, which is out on the east side, and they're a metalworking shop, but it's also a what do you want to call it? What's the word I'm thinking of? It's where artists or people can go and rent shop space.
So
like a studio?
Yeah. And so I rent time from them by the month. I get 2 hours a month, and so I have to carefully plan to get there at the right moment to use their CNC cutter.
Run in there with all your metals and.
Yep.
You can't find one of those on Amazon.
It's kind of a I don't know. I guess I've never looked for that on Amazon, but it's kind
I
of
think something that much, maybe not.
yeah, and it's a big piece. The one that they have out there is the table itself is 4 feet by 4 feet. Plus
They probably have one sitting on our local warehouse.
there could be. It's kind of one of those things. I've often wondered why you don't.
One of our sponsors actually has an older version, not the really nice one, but she makes tables.
Okay.
And her husband used to make guitars before he passed. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very important machine.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
When we're coming back, we're going to ask you what's a common myth about metal artists.
Okay.
Welcome back to the third chair with our guest Richard. Oh yeah, Peter's here.
AKA Tarzan.
So what is the biggest misunderstanding about? You have had our break to think about this about metal design.
Yeah. Yeah. So up until this school year, I taught high school metal shop.
Oh.
And so this is kind of the beginning of the story from earlier as to how I got into metal design was I would have kids, high school kids, and the way I taught was we would do practice projects. So we would do weird just knickknacks, practice making a cut or install a rivet into this piece of metal. And then I would give them a project which was a metal box. So I give them parameters. You have to make a box. It has to be less this size or less, has to have a bend, has to have a rivet screw, and so on. And then I would say, after that, you have to come up with a project.
Oh.
And so what I saw, to answer your question with that, was that immediately their minds always went to, oh, I have to build a shelf or a chair or some kind of a structure. And I immediately, my mind would go to, well, you could do that, but what about something cool that you could cut out with, because we had a CNC plasma cutter, cut out and make a piece of art or a gift for somebody, or make a shelf but make a really cool custom piece that goes, that is the shelf, or is the backsplash for the shelf or whatever. And so I think that's I think metal as an art probably doesn't pop into people's heads first. And so I would say that's kind of a misconception.
Yeah.
More of like, oh, I need a railing or a frame for something that has to be metal, rather than how about a piece of art or something, something that's decorative or.
I'm still thinking about the plasma cutter and wondering if you could use it to make beef jerky.
Probably.
It may not be edible.
If you do.
Be very holy.
Yeah.
Well, when I was in shop in the 8th grade, I made a letter holder.
I made a bottle opener.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I figured it was easy. Small
Right.
and easy.
I got
a B.
I was a science nerd, and I struggled in wood shop and metal shop. I just was not coordinated and able to do it.
Yep. Well, I'm teaching metals right now in my middle school classroom. I have one class of it. And that was one of the things I didn't anticipate, because I just changed jobs and I'm creating this all from scratch at this school. And I bought tin snips and aviation snips. And I never thought about the fact that middle schoolers' hands are so small that they can't physically grip them and squeeze them to cut metal.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a rude awakening on the day. It was like, okay, use these and cut the metal. And they're like, I can't do it, Mr. Lorenzen.
But I bet they could run the plasma cutter.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I could probably totally just program it out without any instruction.
Middle school is tough because you have kids that are like still 4 or something, and then you have some who are 6 feet.
Yep,
it's kind of like there's a spread in middle school.
There's a tremendous spread of maturity and sizes and brain power and everything else.
Yes.
Yep.
What would you tell somebody who would want to be a metal artist as a career?
Oh, I don't know. I guess the reason I always talk to kids about art was I love to see their creativity. And so to me, this has been a real cool way as a teacher to see what's really making kids tick. You know, when you see Timmy make this, amazing thing for his mom that's, very heartfelt, or, you see the light bulb go off and it's like, what if we tried something like this? And I think a lot of times kids don't even think things are possible, and so sometimes I think they're even afraid to say, could we do this or can we do that? Because it just seems like it's totally, that can't be done, Mm-hmm. So I don't know, I guess open mind is what the answer to that question would be. Just not to feel limited just because you have an image of a piece of steel or,
Mm-hmm.
a metal bar or whatever, might be I guess back to the stereotype question, that first thought that comes into your head with metal shouldn't always
It's functional,
Yeah.
not artistic.
Yeah.
Did Andy Warhol do much with metal? I mean, I know he did the tomato soup can display.
Well, that was a painting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I've seen actual.
And the can
giant-
was already a can. So.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's why I was wondering if he did anything
Someone
with
else
metals.
made that.
Yeah.
I think he said like everyone gets
Campbell's.
15 minutes of fame.
Right?
Yeah. There was a big display. I don't know if it was just going town to town, but it was in Fort Collins not too long ago.
Oh, really?
And I saw it up there, but it was giant. It was like as large as me. So it
A
was
giant.
big.
Well, maybe he made that one
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
and
I don't
painted
know
it.
that.
I don't. So Peter is going to talk to you more about coaching.
All right. So one of the things we talk about on the show with artists is we like to throw out some scenarios for you to give advice if somebody was struggling as an artist or in a way. And, this might be the same sort of thing you might say to a student, or even an adult student. So you are now Coach Richard.
Okay.
All right, Richard, give me a good pose of a coach. What does a coach look like?
Yeah.
What we use for that?
What kind of call is that, man? Yeah, your mother wears army boots. Yeah.
So, Peter, with every question, make sure you say Coach Richard, and we'll have a little graphic.
My idea of coach, I grew up in Minnesota, in North Dakota, and I was a Viking fan, and the Minnesota Vikings coach was Bud Grant, and he would just stand on the sidelines like this. The whole game just staring,
Yeah.
Everybody's talking. Tarkington would call, and he would talk to him, and Tarkington would be all like, and the quarterback,
He's just-
and Bud Grant's kind of like.
So,
But it was great. They had Fran Tarkington was on Saturday Night Live, and John Belushi just did a great imitation of him. That was hilarious.
all right, Coach Richard. All right. Have you noticed, or what would you say to the fact that some artists don't finish a project because they're afraid it's going to be rejected or criticized or put down? And how do you deal with that, either for yourself or what you tell others?
Yeah, I'm actually living that right now with my wife because she's writing a novel, and she
that's
is
not easy.
very worried about that exact thing, about the reception. She's very, very afraid of a negative reception. And so I guess what I keep telling her is, number one, she has so many people that have read parts of it or edited it that are like, this is amazing.
Okay.
And so I guess I constantly am directing her back towards that. It's like, you already know this is good. People are telling you it's going to be okay. And I guess I understand it. At first, it was kind of hard for me to understand that idea that I'm not going to finish this because I'm afraid of what will
Really
happen to
common.
it. Yeah,
That's
it
why we
is.
asked the question.
Yeah. No, it really is.
Yeah.
But I guess, I don't know, I can understand that. I can see that being a huge worry. And I see it in her every day. But I guess she's got to be, anybody has to just be brave enough to trust in their talent, because I guess any piece of art is just a reflection of the person, right? Whether it's words on a page or a piece of metal or can of tomato soup.
But the flip side of the coin can be just as deadly. You can be successful and then be under the pressure to do something like you just did because it was successful,
right,
and not do something else that's important to you. Your success can be a trap sort of in the opposite direction, and be limiting as well, and you're afraid to do something different because people might not like it again, so I'll just keep doing the thing that sells or what people give me the feedback.
That's very true. And the funny thing that just came to mind, maybe you want to wait, or
well, let's wait till after break.
Okay,
let's wait till after the break.
All
right, we're gonna come back and we're gonna find out what Richard's thinking about. On Coach Richard. Real people, real stories, real life. We're looking for guests. We're looking for you here on the third chair. I'm Peter, that's Doug, and how many different ways can we have guests?
Oh, at least 3. We could have them here in the studio in Colorado Springs. We've had guests all the way from LA on a Zoom, and we have gone on location, and we got our 3rd one already in the planning phase.
Awesome. Send us an email and we'll get you on the show. Welcome back to the third chair. I am still Peter, according to my Colorado ID. That is Doug, and we're here with Richard Lorenzen, educator and metal sheet artist, also woodworker and a little painter, biker. We're going to talk about all these cool things. When we left off, Coach Richard had a thought on a question, and my 62-year-old mind can't remember the question, so I hope you do.
Even though it was like 12 seconds ago?
It might have been 13.
Now it's already 36 seconds into this.
we're almost a minute old now.
We'll give him a minute,
Give him a minute.
No, we were talking about just that kind of fear of putting yourself out there. And so what you made me think of was I was doing karaoke one time, and I love to do karaoke. And I always have my
country and western.
I do, yeah, all kinds. But my favorite,
I was bad in every genre.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
But my favorites were always Billy Joel and Neil Diamond. So I used to always sing that. And I was somewhere, I think it was in Snowmass up above Aspen, at a barbecue place. We were doing karaoke. And I sat down in a booth next to some guy I didn't know. We were both looking through the song lists. And I said something to him, and somehow it came out. He read my mind and said, just sing what you want to sing. Nobody really cares. And so I sang some songs that I've always wanted to sing that I never had before. And so it kind of makes me think about what you're asking in the art. It's the answer to your original question would be just put it out there. If it's yours, if you love it, if it's an expression of who you are and what you are, then that's kind of the most important thing, I guess.
And you have to accept the fact that in life not everyone's going to like you or your art.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, another one. This one has to do, particularly germane to you, but I have had many artists, at least more than 2, tell me that they struggle with the idea of horrible memories from the past where either a family member, a friend, a teacher basically said, your art sucks and you'll never be any good at it. And 10 or 15 years later, still struggling with that.
Wow.
And I know you probably recognize the importance of that as a teacher in choosing your words carefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you anything to deal with that besides?
Yeah, I mean, I've never dealt with that personally, so I can't speak well to that. But I guess it goes back to what we were just talking about, in that, if you were passionate about your craft and you're willing to put it out there, then more power to you, I guess. That's a pretty powerful thing to do. I guess back to the original question with, getting over that fright of acceptance is you do have to be brave. Mm-hmm. You do have to be ready for whatever might come, I don't know, I've been personally struggling lately because my art has been up and around, but not much has been selling that's been showing. Mm-hmm. And so I know
this doesn't necessarily mean people don't like it.
Exactly.
It's it's a sucky economy.
That's just sucky economy.
Yeah.
And, one of the things, people only have so much wall space.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's it. There's so many things that go into it. And so I guess with a lot of things, you kind of have to put a buffer between the world out there and also know that your perception of the world might be different than what it really is. And I don't know, it is a lot to overcome.
Well, and sometimes too, I've people have told me, sometimes you have to let things go from the past. Someone messed you up with the words, you forgive them and move on.
Yeah.
It's like, rather sometimes it's holding a grudge that kind of holds you back to. There's lots of angles to that.
Yeah, well, I talk to my kids a lot too about putting people in their lives that don't do that. That are supportive no matter what, and just being thoughtful, I guess, especially with teenagers and middle schoolers. It's like, think carefully about who you spend your time and energy on, because you don't want those people. Yeah, if you can avoid it.
Well, what do they say? We become the average of the 5 people we spend our time with. Something like that. Yeah. Along the same lines, this is another common one that people bring up, and that is there are artists that when they're struggling, they're afraid to ask for help. And I don't mean like mental health care. I mean, it could be that, but it's like learning a new technique. Could you help me with a project? There's something here I don't understand. Do you see that in the classroom as well?
Yep, that's a big issue in the classroom. Same thing. I think a lot of times kids are embarrassed that they don't know, or they're just afraid to ask the teacher. I
don't want to look weak. I don't want to look stupid.
Yep, especially
surprising because a lot of kids are afraid to talk to adults, and it's one of the things. We did right with my daughter. She would go talk to her teachers all the time. So they love my daughter, because they could communicate with her. But other kids, it's surprising because those kids come to my house and they'd be screaming and I think, well, they're all. And then my daughter says, yeah. And then so I'm the one that has to go. I'm with her, and I'm the one that has to go talk to the teacher. And they're like, oh wow, and it's an outgoing person and all that. And it's kind of like. But it's a different world, I think, kids versus adults.
Yeah, it is.
Do you sort of keep an eye out for that and sort of proactively, gently prod, hey, do you need help?
Yep.
It's okay to ask for help.
Yep.
Those kinds of things with the sort of maintaining dignity as much as possible.
Yep.
Yeah, do you find there's an art to that?
Yeah, there is. I mean, sometimes.
Pardon the pun.
Right?
Don't encourage him.
No, sometimes it's just like, do you have any questions about this, or can I help you clarify something, or instead of just calling them out.
That's
why aren't you doing this?
That's good. That's good. Now, again, these are all things that we've asked artists a lot because it's a recurring thing. Creating mental energy to do art, to focus. I mean, you have a long day of teaching. You're tired. There's still chores perhaps to be done at home, and you gotta psych yourself up somehow. Do you have any special techniques that you use to do that?
I don't know. I've always been pretty inspired, I guess. Like I said before, the thing that gets me going the most is when someone brings an idea to me, and that almost always my brain starts turning immediately.
Oh, that sounds like fun, right?
I'm usually pretty quick to get an idea from talking to someone or maybe they send a picture like, can you do something similar to this or something that looks like this, or it usually triggers pretty quick. And then I usually start by just some sketching and then more conversation, and it kind of molds into, you know, they're like, okay, yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I had in mind. Or, I never thought of that. That's really cool. What I struggle with is sometimes just original ideas. Like this winter, I was feeling like I'm hanging the same stuff. My stuff's been around town a few places, and in fact, where was it? I had a piece. Oh, I was at the Lightspeed curations that somebody said, "Oh, I've seen this before."
And on the one hand, you're happy to have it there. On the other hand, it's kind of a gut punch.
It's nice to have the recognition, but then you're also like, okay, maybe I need something fresh.
What I found in Colorado here is that magic mushrooms really help.
I don't know how magic you can go, but
That we need to do the disclaimer that
the views of
the views of one host is not necessarily
or anybody else in the room.
Magic or not,
what's that old saying? There'll be no more drinking or Emma Biden now that we've got psilocybin. At least the people I hung out with for a time said that.
You know what we're going to do in the next segment?
We're going to go to a break?
Well, the next segment, you know what we're going to do?
No.
We're going to look at Richard's art work.
Okay, we're gonna put some on the screen and have Richard comment.
You gotta go get
floor.
I gotta go get them. They're upstairs.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope the chicken's not on them.
The chicken's not up already.
All right, we'll be right back.
All right.
Welcome back to the third chair. We have Doug, the ex-DOD auditor who used to chew out 8-star generals.
Yeah. There are no 8-star generals, so this was just in Peter's imagination.
You know, I can really relate to the myth thing, you know? Making a story. And we're
In
here
other
with-
words, Peter likes to make up crap.
I make up crap, that is my job. I'm a professional crap maker. Boy, did that sound like my pet dog.
Might be the first thing I heard on the show. We should
Peter,
get
you
him
are
out.
restricted from my bathroom now.
All I can say about that mistake was bummer. We're here with Richard Lorenzen.
Yep.
Not Lorenzo. And, I remember now, Lorenzo was one of the cops on the Die Hard movies. The Die Hard 2. And there were twin brothers, Lorenzo, and Willis would interact with both of them.
Okay.
But anyways, I knew there was a popular cop. But anyways, what we're going to do, I've pulled some pictures off your website displaying some of the different kinds of things that you do, including some straightforward woodworking stuff, and we're going to have you comment on them. with respect to anything, special meaning, special technique, just anything about the process for each one. So here's the first one. It's an interesting looking prehistoric bird. I don't think that's what it was for.
Nope.
And we'll have this on the screen for our audience.
Yeah. No, this is a raven that I was talking about earlier from my wife's
For Australia.
school. Yeah. Yep. So
I thought it was an eagle.
Carrie is
No, it looks more like a raven because of the feathers.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
Carrie's always had an affection for ravens. When our first house that we bought together, there were ravens all over that neighborhood, and she's always had some kind of a connection. I don't know what it is.
She read
why
Edgar
she's-
Allan Poe.
Yeah, well, that's her genre. So
Oh, it is
she's
horror?
horror and fantasy
wow.
writing. So
Oh yeah, the raven.
so that was I'm sure.
They're another.
Were there ravens in Harry Potter too?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Oh no, they had owls.
Owls. I was going
I
to
don't
seem to
know
think
if
here
somebody had a
Raven
raven.
House or something. Or maybe.
Oh, yeah, Raven
no,
House.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
They
Did
had
they have
that.
Raven House?
It was Raven something.
Yeah.
It was one of the houses.
Raven Claw, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Raven
I don't
Claw.
know.
I think.
Yeah,
I don't
I-
know.
Yeah,
so
but
there
this
were-
has nothing
so
to do
there
with
was
Harry
ravens.
Potter.
No, this does not. No, but so this was actually the first piece that I made from that.
Okay,
from
so
all that.
so that is metal.
Yep.
Did you polish that or paint that?
This is painted. Yep. This is so. If I have to paint, my go-to is flat black.
okay. Yeah.
Yep. So that's flat.
see that a
black
lot,
on,
yeah.
on the
But-
steel. Yep.
I liked that a lot because look at the detail in the feathers.
Yeah.
And think about it with metal.
Is that a single piece of metal,
That is
or
a single piece.
do you ever do two pieces and like solder them together or weld them together?
Yep.
Yeah.
How long does it take to weld the two pieces
Well,
like that together?
The welding, so I just finished a piece actually that went to Arizona. It's for my best friend. Two of his buddies in Arizona commissioned a piece, and it's 3 layers. And so the hardest part of that is they wanted it painted, so I had to paint and then weld, and then of course the welding melts the paint. So I was trying to avoid having to mask it all off.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was the challenge of that piece. I ended up having to mask it and paint it all anyway, but
So
it's
yeah. Oh boy, that sounds like a lot of extra work.
yeah.
You know, so for this project here, did you draw this raven by hand
Yes.
and then sort of enter it into the computer? Do you use like a program like CAD or
It's a very CAD-like program, yeah.
it's a CAD-like program?
Yeah. So and I'm not. Back to your other question about asking for help. That's the place where I need help, is figuring out how to take my pencil drawings that are scanned and then getting them without me having to physically trace it, basically with the computer. That's a big missing step.
Okay.
In my work, that is the most time-consuming part of a project, is getting it from the graphic image into the program, the CAD program that actually runs the cutter.
Now, I'm curious about something. Where it's clear or white, is that different paint, or is that actually where you've cut the metal?
Yeah, that's empty space.
That's empty space where you've cut the metal.
Yep. So
That's a
this-
lot of cuts.
That's a lot of cuts.
Do you get
yeah.
charged by the cut?
Yeah, I wish. yeah, yeah, and
Yeah,
oftentimes,
this is a lot of good detail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really
I
surprised.
mean,
That's why I picked this as an example.
Yeah, this-
Really impressive.
this piece is probably from top to bottom is probably 20 inches or so.
Oh, wow.
So it's decent size, but not
Oh,
huge.
wow. Yeah.
But that's the challenge of the cutter, is that it cuts away 1/8 of an inch every time. So with something like this that's so detailed, you really have to be careful about leaving enough space between things. Otherwise, it's just empty space. It vaporizes the metal
Oh
completely
wow!
away.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Yeah, so-
And I bet you want to keep your fingers back.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, okay, awesome.
Yep. That's been one of my most popular items.
Can you reproduce that if someone wanted something like
Yep,
that?
absolutely.
So you have the program in the computer.
Yep. So once it's there, that's easy.
Oh,
I
nice.
can resize without having to redraw.
Nice.
Yep. So
nice.
just like an image you put into a Word doc, you can stretch it or.
So like a painter can have prints made.
Yep.
This would be sort of the equivalent. You have
Exactly.
all the gear ready to go. You just need to put in the
Yep.
sheet metal and let it rip, so to speak.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep, more or less.
Now, I saw this one, I think, at the art show
Yeah,
here in
this
town.
one was
or
there.
The Lightspeed.
Yep.
Yeah, and now that is a bicycle, but that's all steel or metal?
All steel. Yep. And this is a huge piece. This is probably about 50 inches long.
Wow.
And probably 3.5 feet tall.
Was it heavy?
It's heavy.
Is it like 50 pounds?
No, it's not quite that heavy. It's probably 30-ish.
Okay.
Yep.
So did you have to solder a lot of that together?
Yeah, so this has, I think, 4 layers on it.
Do you ever do different materials? Like, do you work in aluminum or some other alloys?
I have not, nope.
I mean, could you? Is that something that's possible? Or
to an extent, I don't have good equipment to weld aluminum or like stainless steel. If it was just cutting it out, if it was a single piece, then that would be very easy to do.
What was the inspiration for like making a bike?
Yeah, so this was not this particular bicycle, but my very first commission, when I started doing this, was an old friend of mine back in Iowa, who I used to ride bikes with. She'd bought a house that had a huge fireplace, and she wanted something to hang over the fireplace. And she'd been looking at these different bike sculptures online, and she approached me and said, "Can you make me a bike sculpture?" And I was like, "Heck yeah," because I love bikes. And so the one I made for her was similar to this, except this is a mountain bike and hers was a road bike.
Oh.
So the only major difference was the handlebar. I sculpted a drop bar, curved handlebar for that bike, which is a really cool addition to that because it was handmade. I actually bent the pipe and
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was really cool.
Now I'm trying to understand something. Like, if I commissioned a steel bike for art that's that big and heavy, like, where do people normally put it?
Yeah.
You know,
No,
put it over the fireplace.
Hers was for the fireplace, so she had a very specific dimension. And then after I made that one, I was like, well, we have to have a mountain bike to go with this because it's Colorado.
Yeah, of course.
So I made a mountain bike to match it. And that was unsold, but right about that time, on that fall, I did a show at Goat Patch, and that was another big seller. I sold, I think, 2 or 3 variations of that mountain bike.
Beautiful.
There's 2 of them, and
There's a lot of bikers
one in town and one in
and
Denver.
That would be.
Yeah.
I bet they'd love that on their wall.
And I have one on my wall too. So there's another one that's hanging in my living room where I have a big space where it fits.
Well, I would start commenting on this. We might pick it up after the break.
Oh, wow.
Now, this is this hummingbirds or what?
Yeah, those are hummingbirds.
Hummingbirds, and is that like in silver or?
Yeah, so that's a perfect example of the unfinished metal.
Okay.
So when I do something like this, it's with that texture tool I was telling you about, and then I put a coat of clear. So it is painted, but it's just clear.
Clear.
So if it's indoors, I just use a clear spray paint. If it's outdoors, I usually use a polyurethane spray on it, so more durable. Yep.
So same thing, draw it by hand, computer, cut it with a plasma cutter carefully, and then finishing it. Nice.
Yep.
How big is that?
This piece was about that same as the Raven, about 18 or 20 inches diameter.
All right.
There's a really good story for this one too, if you want to hear it.
We are gonna hear it.
Okay.
You'll have time to practice it, and we'll do it when we come right back.
Perfect.
Hi, I'm Peter from Pikes Peak Recovery Coaching, and as you know, I do help people with drug and alcohol recovery issues. I love to help people get better, but I also offer a variety of other services, including regular life coaching services. I've helped several people write and finish a book. I've helped a doctor that was in medical school graduate and then get into a residency. And I also actually have quite a background in mathematics, and I do some math tutoring for the GED as well as the ASVAB for those that are thinking about a career in the military. So my contact information is on the screen. Please send me an email or a text, and we can talk about some of these services and how I can help. That's Peter Grigg at Pikes Peak Recovery Coaching. Welcome back to the third chair. I'm Peter. There is Doug and Richard Lorenzen. metalwork artist, painter, woodworker, and educator. We were just talking about some of his metalwork that consists of hummingbirds, and you said you were going to share the story. So tell us about the hummingbirds.
Yeah, so this was a commission. A gentleman I used to teach with, contacted me, and he had a really good friend whose sister passed away, and she had a thing for hummingbirds. He said, I'd really like to do something for him that's hummingbirds. And so there's another piece, I don't think you have a picture of it here, but it's the rabbits that I did for Carrie for her logo that are it's a Celtic thing. Is where the inspiration was from that. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could do hummingbirds that make a loop?
Oh.
And so that's where that came from. And then one of my favorites is this vine pattern that you see on there. I really like that. I don't know why.
Neat. The whole picture's neat.
Yeah. And so that was one of those pieces where I created it. I never showed it to him. He said he wanted hummingbirds. I'm like, okay. And then I delivered it, and he was like, "Oh my God, that's
what a compliment!"
Yeah, so that was a really cool piece and a very meaningful piece.
How many hours from start to finish for a piece like that?
Yeah, probably. Boy, I don't think the drawing, like the idea, didn't take that long. But like I said before, getting it translated into the machine. So probably all in all, from start to finish, probably 10, 15 hours, something like that.
Can you plasma cut relatively quickly? Like
That
once you
part's-
get going?
Yeah, that part it's very dependent on the machine. I've been kind of unlucky with machines, both the one I had at the school and the one that I'm using now. They're a little unreliable. But in theory, you should be able to put your piece of metal down, the machine centers on a spot, and then you coordinate the machine to the drawing, and it's just
And it
follows
should
the
do
line.
it like
Yep.
fast.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha. So you own a company. Is it Lorenzen Customs?
Yes.
What kinds of services do you offer? I mean, we've shown some metalwork.
Yeah.
What kinds of things you guys do there?
Yeah, so I do a lot of commissioned art like this, which is, I think I'm most passionate about that. I really love the creativity of that. But I also love doing structural pieces. I've done lots of furniture pieces. So if you get to my website, you'll
A
see
structural piece. Does
Yeah,
that mean
so-
like a deck, a porch,
not that
a
scale,
railing?
but railings. I've done a lot of furniture that's steel framed with wood surfaces.
Yeah, I saw some pictures of
Yeah,
that. They look good.
Yeah, I've done some cool railing. My kitchen, for example, at my home, I did a lot of pieces that have steel trim. So like my counters have steel edging. So it's just a cool accent piece. But I love doing design like that too. I haven't done any commission jobs like that, but I love that whole idea of like designing space and designing touches like that into space that uses things maybe you don't always think of, like a piece of metal.
Can you like cut a sword?
I do not cut swords. but
Okay. Yeah.
If you're interested in that Kilroy's, that's what they're known for, is swords and knives. It's a really cool place.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm assuming that you still accept new customers.
Absolutely.
So what's the best way for people to contact you if they've been inspired to get something done?
Yeah, so email's the best. It's lorenzencustoms@gmail.com. My website is lorenzencustoms.com. Great place just to go see what I've been doing.
Yeah, there's at least 49 pictures of
Yeah,
it.
there's a bunch of pictures.
Yeah, I counted them today.
Yeah, nice. So,
Oh, Peter, you must have been bored.
yeah,
Peter sort of a little number at the
yeah,
top.
I got up to 49.
Might have been 69. I don't know.
But that's a great place just to see the variety of work that I do. Everything from the art to the structural pieces. I've done some really cool like inset pieces that have gone into kitchens and places. There's a really cool piece in there that went back to Iowa to my family for their deck. So you know how a lot of decks are built up off the ground. I built a really cool piece to make a screen basically for the underneath of their deck.
Nice.
Really cool sculpture, yeah.
Yeah. So you have graciously agreed to be here again next week. And so we are going to get to hear more from you. Until then, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell icon so that you know when we've uploaded another episode. From all of us here, good night.
Good night.
This is